Here we go then, the final 2 games of the season. After spending most of the first half in the relegation spots, we've got a chance to be the best of the rest now. Let's take it, please, please, please. I'll be honest, I'm not supremely confident. I'm just going to pop in the data hub for a second. I'm not going to focus overly on the actual matches themselves. I'm probably just going to bring you the goals from them because there's always going to be end of season stuff at the end. So I'm not going to make this like a 30-minute video. You can see where the problem has been this year. Now, obviously the half a season situation for Marco Adeyemi isn't factored in here because this is per 90 minutes. Callum Wilson is right here on the line exactly for goals per 90 minutes, which I presume indicates the average for the league. There's some interesting outliers here though. Bertrand Traoré has a very high expected goals per 90 minutes, apparently. Meanwhile, Eddie Nketiah has a really high goals per 90 minutes in general. In fact, the person who's probably arguably the highest surprising goals per 90 would be Jordan Ayew in this situation, who has 0.7 thereabouts, but a very low XG. There's lots of little different metrics. There's movements here as well. Lots of dribbles, loose in possession, apparently. 3 of our players are in that boat. Callum Wilson is fewer dribbles, but reliable in possession. Meanwhile, Barco is slap bang on the line in the middle of fewer dribbles and neither reliable or not reliable. Yeah, so this is the problem. Loose in possession, not exactly great at getting the goals. If you're interested, look into it. There's so many things. As for movement defenders, aerial defenders, all sorts of things. Meanwhile, at the other end, goalkeeping-wise, Dubravka, I did make this question early on, and bear in mind, he has been a lot better in the second half of the season. Karl Darlow is very much an outlier as being very good, and possibly I should have been using him more, but he's only played a couple of games, so I don't know how accurate this statistic is. Who's the one down here, by the way? John Roddy, blimey. He's actually played a game, has he? A ridiculously high save percentage for Karl Darlow. A really high expected goals prevented as well, for good measure. Dubravka's expected goals prevented is minus, but how much of that was from the first half of the season, I can't say for certain. Well, I can. You can see there's way more goals conceded in this stretch here, September to November, than there have been in this stretch post-January, really. 3 against Liverpool is basically the outlier. 2 against Burnley, both of which were engine problems. Southampton, as you saw, yeah, it's not quite as problematic in the second half. There's a lot more clean sheets in the second half as well. So I don't know. I think Darlow got lucky, really. Karl Darlow did play 4 games and got clean sheets, but then he did concede against Brentford, and they dropped him for that. Maybe I should have given him more of a chance. There's 2 games to go, though. And he has been injured recently, and in January he did demand a new challenge, which is why I didn't put him back in, because I wasn't 100% certain he was still going to be here. The main news for the Aston Villa match is Callum Wilson took a knock, so he's not playing. Almiron comes in the right side, Adeyemi goes up front, Munoz appears on the bench. He's 1.5 stars. It's not a good situation to be in. But the other option is Dwight Gale, who isn't really that much better, so we might as well go with the prospect rather than the person who's probably going to be sold in about 3 weeks. Dubravka in goal. Does have an average rating of 6.93, so he's not been terrible. Otavio, Mings, Soulé, Hateboer, Dahoud, Gagliardini, Willock, Saint-Maximin, Almiron and Adeyemi as just mentioned. The injuries are starting to add up. Woodman's also out as well. Not that he's starting either. Aston Villa picked up a couple of the people whose contracts were up in 6 months' time in January as well. They picked up Amate and Dani Ceballos. They were both considerations of mine. I did put in for Amate, but he wanted far too much for the level of player that he is. And Ceballos is that kind of level of player that I would only be interested in at the end of the year, considering the players that we'd already brought in at the point I noticed he was available. We'd already brought in a few midfielders, so I felt it wasn't really worth bringing in another one. But of course, as this highlight plays out, Newcastle and Aston Villa have a bit of a recent history grudge match situation. There's not a lot of love lost between these two. Wait, that can't be the phrase. Not much love lost. There's plenty of love lost. They've injured Saint-Maximin as well, so they're in my naughty books now as well. Oh look, a back post header from a corner. That was completely unchallenged. Doesn't matter what you do. That's broken. That's broken and needs to be fixed immediately. Well, before this, I said I'd bring you just the goals. Hasn't really been much highlights in general. Almiron had to bore. Back to Willock inwards, and it's hit someone, and Almiron's fallen over. Not a penalty. Move restarts from the back. Soulé. Back out to Hateboer. Once again, Almiron runs into a spot of space. Willock on the edge of the box. He's got a gap. He's hit the crossbar, apparently. I thought it was the post. It happened so fast. I've got an awful feeling this is going to be a through ball or a cross back post. It's looking more like to be a back post cross. Ah, it's a back post cross. Please fix crosses and corners. Keep an eye on what Hateboer does here as this cross comes in. There he goes, it's in. Oh, he's jumped for it, but he's also 90 miles away from it. No one in human history of football has ever done that. I don't mind the fact that the attacker peeled away from him. That does happen. The fact that he tried to head a ball that was 30 feet ahead of him. No one's situational awareness is that bad. Right, I've run out of substitutions. I'm saving yellow cards in the midfield here. Otavia's on a 6.2. I've angered the team by demanding more when we're losing. How is that the reaction to demand more when you're 1-0 down? Oh, Cash is in all of the space and he scored a goal. Maybe Carl Darlow is the right answer. I don't know what that was from Dubravka. The game doesn't get Dubravka right. I know that much. They very much underrated him in previous years, and this year I feel like his attributes are more in line, but he still does this. Which is not what Martin Dubravka in real life would ever do. Oh, a late corner. Is this going to the back post? Oh, it's gone to the nearish post. They've mixed it up a little bit. We did literally nothing in the second half. Oh, Liverpool have won the Premier League, by the way. So Spurs have clawed their way to safety. Burnley, Watford, Palace all down. Top four's all sorted as well. The only thing for the final day is this. The only thing for the final day is whether or not Chelsea will nick either of these remaining 2 European spots. And then this middle of the pack, who gets the most money battle that's going on as well. Chelsea play Palace, Leicester play Southampton, which matters. In case people are wondering, Sheffield United and West Brom bounce back immediately. Fulham in the driving seat for the playoffs. If they don't get promoted, it's a travesty, looking at the points difference. Derby would have survived if it wasn't for the 12 points deduction, which is currently the position they're in real life as well. They'd be about 13th, I think, without the deduction. So we're really doing an actual decent job there, considering. And here's the other leagues as well. Plymouth at the wrong end of the table. Maybe that's why Plymouth were called out in that press conference last time out. 25 points. Oh, and they've got League 2 horrifically wrong as well. Hartlepool and Harrogate in the bottom 3. Pretty certain they're in the top 3, or close to it in real life. Oh, Chelsea hadn't played their game yet. They've won it. It was against Southampton. So it's whether or not Leeds can nick either of those remaining 2 European places then. For some reason, the FA Cup was played on Wednesday, the 18th of May. Manchester UFC triumphing over Liverpool. So for the final game of the season, Dubravka in goal. Lewis gets a chance against his former team in this final game. Mings, Sula, Hattabor, Gagliardini in the deep line playmaker role. Longstaff steps in. Willock, Barco, Adeyemi, and Wilson. Just don't really trust Dahoud. He's just very consistent at being average. And I feel like Gagliardini feels more at home in that DM position, even if it's not ball winner. I just feel like he feels a little bit more home there. One thing I did miss following the Villa match is the injury in that match to Sam Maximan was actually serious. He's out for this match. But Wilson is back. One thing I am interested by is Norwich's formation, because I know Farke in real life has come under some criticism for his interesting formations. And the first thing I notice is they're not playing Grant Hanley, which, accurate and correct in my opinion. They're also playing the Greek wonder kid. Solis is having a relationship with Farke, much like Van der Beek's with Solskjaer at the moment, apparently. From what I gather, when Solis was signed, there was a lot of surprise and intrigue at the signing, and a lot of excitement by it. And then he's barely played. When this move's worked its way up to the box, it's gone across to Adeyemi. There's that crossfield ball again I was talking about. Offside, though, apparently, Adeyemi. Hit the post regardless. It's kicking off at Southampton, and it's 3-2, and it's only half an hour ago. Well, it's half-time now, because nothing else has happened in this game. I needn't worry about the highlights. There haven't been any. A win here is worth £4 million. We don't need £4 million, but it's still worth it. Longstaff. Good save by Gunn. Gagliardini's on the corner. Put the ball in, no one's there to get it, but Barco will gather the rebound. Nice. And I have no words for what I've just seen from Ezekiel Barco there. He's somehow managed to hit a player 6 feet away from him. Literally just kick it back to your right, mate. Okay, people aren't really playing badly as such. Willock's on a 6.5, that's the worst of it. But Adeyemi's booked and tired. Almiron exists. Some of the best players are actually the most tired at the moment. I don't have another right back, actually, so Hattabor has to stay on regardless. Throw in late in the game. 0-0. Still finally poised, and a win here would take us up 2 places. It's gone in the goal. I don't really know how it's gone in the goal, but it's gone in it. There was a header, there was a rebound, and I think Soule's just instinctively punted it in. It's a long throw, though. Soule does get the header, I think, and it just cannons off a defender, and Soule kicks it straight in on reflex. Waste time with a substitution. Waste time with another one. Full time. Well, wasn't pretty, but we got there. Considering the chances, deserved in the end, we just need people who can put the ball in the goal. And apparently Callum Wilson isn't that person. So Chelsea beat Palace and Leicester bottle it on the final day. It was 3-2 after 32 minutes, and 3-2 it stayed, remarkably. As Leeds drew, and that's all they needed because of the goal difference. But yeah, the win against Norwich takes us up to 10th. There's only one place, actually, but the draw would have seen us in 12th. So we get the top half finish the board wanted. And that, quite frankly, is the miracle. Considering we're in the bottom three in November, I'll take top half. It's been a long old slog, but we got there in the end. Palace ended the season on minus 60. 20 million, 1.9 paid out. There was an insane amount of people. There was a surprising number of bonuses paid out for avoiding relegation. It probably totaled up to about 3 or 4 million. I would be surprised if 5th is still enough for Tuchel to survive. Oh, literally as I say that, it pops up on the newsfeed, Tuchel sacked. But end of season review first. That was weird. It was like I summoned the sacking. Okay, so what I've noticed immediately is these transfers include all the optional extras. Soule was 4.2 million guaranteed, then a tiny bit if he plays 50 games. But he's worth every penny. He was available on the free at the end of the year. Big teams were interested in that capacity. Beat them to it. The 2 right backs, shy of 7. We'll take that. Mings, shy of a 7. Benacer, shy of a 7. Willock, actually, quite good. The only one of the original lot, seemingly. That was still quite good. 6.9 from him. Gagliardini did well. Dahoud averages, and then it goes to the ones that did before quite so well. Dahoud with a 6.7. Altavia with a 6.7. Barker with a 6.6. Adeyemi with a 6.6. Cook, 6.5, and then injured. He only played 2 games. And then the lowly was woeful. But C+, nice and just above average. However, they understand that the team had a difficult draw. Thank you. C+, though, for winning the semi-final when they only wanted quarter-final. Beat Manchester City to do it as well. And they lost to Brentford, of course. I like the fact that Match to Remember was a 94th minute winner, following a sending off as well. And goal of the season was Paul Dummett's screamer against Man United. I did say that happened, and there's your proof. Just in case you didn't believe me. I was going to skip the finances, but the shirt sales are interesting. Benacer, top of that. Saint-Maximin, Gagliardini, Barco, and then Wilson. Barco's a little bit surprising as well. And the overall lineup's going to be interesting, considering the 50-50ness of the season. But new signings in the centre-back position, Mings and Soule, they get those roles. Dahoud in the midfield gets that role, as does Gagliardini. Surprisingly, Kraft gets right back with 3 total appearances. Oh, I'm going to have to put that on the forums, aren't I? Tactical style, clean slate. I think that's broken as well. Ignore the record breakers, that's because it's a new save. But player of the season is Alan Saint-Maximin. Young player is Willock. Signing is Soule. Goal of the season is Dummett, as we saw. Wilson, with 12 goals, does remain the highest goal scorer. Saint-Maximin with 11 assists is the best assister. Highest average rating as well as Saint-Maximin with a 7 all told, although Soule had more than that, so I don't know how that works out. And most passes completed per 90 is Nicolas Soule. He did have the highest pass completion ratio as well, but he's a centre-back, so I imagine they pass to each other a lot. And there's the confirmation that Tuchel was sacked. Wait, how am I next? How am I more likely to be sacked than Ranieri? I got top half. They're pleased with me. They still only want to be top half next year. So that is what I will tell the team. We can challenge for the title next year. Why is that even an option? I've not had budgets for next year. There they are. £2.3 million and another £100 million worth of transfer budget. Our category has dropped by 2. I'll see if I can fix that if I move on a day. Because we improved our youth setup last year. But I think looking to next year, I think realistically we're looking at the 2 spots I thought were fine going into this year, which is the front and the back. Carl Darlow wants to leave, so that might happen regardless. Dubravka, reluctantly, I must say, probably has to be replaced. It wasn't good enough from him this year. I think he has been somewhat underrated again in the game. But I think the back 4, if the left backs can start performing, I don't think we should replace the left backs, but I think the centre backs and right backs are fine for certain. The left backs, if they can start performing, would be great. We've got 2 of them, 1 starter, 1 squad. Like, the setup's fine. If they could start playing well, that would be great. I think Willock stays. I think Longstaff stays if he's happy to be a squad player. I think Hayden can stay if he's happy to be a squad player. I don't think really midfield personnel needs to be added to as such. I might move Dahoud on, perhaps, if we can. I know he only came here in January, but there might be a starting position there. There might be a starting role there that could be dealt with. I think Willock is the Mazzala, Gagliardini is the box-to-box, and Benacer is the deep-line playmaker. As a starting 3, I think that's fantastic, really. Longstaff does the box-to-box backup. Realistically, it's the backup Mazzala that we need for Willock. Because if Benacer is doing the deep-line playmaker role, then we need a right-footed backup Mazzala role. None of the others do that very well. And left-hand side is fine. Saint-Maximin and Barco, they're fine. Right-hand side, Adeyemi, and there's a player coming in. That's fine. I think we're okay. I should say, by the way, we do have a goalkeeper coming in at the end of the year. he's going to be effectively the replacement for Carl Darlow. I don't think he's going to be good enough to be a starter. So we do have a goalkeeper coming in. But otherwise, I don't think we need to go too drastic. We've got £100 million budget. I think we can really put that into as like a starting striker. We're not going to be doing this, say, for a long time. So whilst we've got players like Adeyemi in, we're not necessarily going to be here for long enough to see them become in their prime. So we do need a starter. And I think that's going to be the priority for the summer. So I guess next time out, you'll find out how I've decided to solve those problems. So until next time, thank you for this support on this first season at Newcastle. I know I've done it differently to everyone else because I disabled the first transfer window. It's been an interesting ride, and it's been possibly a fairly accurate ride. I'm very intrigued to see how Newcastle do post-January in the real world and whether or not it's going to mirror this in any way, shape or form. I kind of hope it does as a Newcastle fan. But thank you for watching. Until next time, ta-ra.